Hello and здравствуйте. As you can hear, our accents, we are not from Russia and we are not from the US, we are from Germany. We are really happy to be here. Hans is from Düsseldorf, I am from Berlin. It's a pleasure for us to be here and to hold that speech and to present our idea about mobility in Israel. It is a lot of first things are happening today. It's our first big talk in such an audience, maybe for other ones too. It's the first time for us being in Russia and also the first time talking about our idea of fill your car. Because of that, we want to take it short and sweet. So, nothing more and nothing less. How do ideas evolve? Do you need something to work on? Do you need to work hard? That's some question we ask always about ourselves. So, are you waiting for it? Is it such an occasion, what is happening, or does it just need a spark to explode? It all started at a school, maybe such one like that one, maybe not such a fancy one in Germany, where we try to develop our own character, and we continued with exploring like our ideas, and we wanted to break out. That was one of the most things, like no teachers anymore who are telling us go studying for mathematics, no more parents who are saying go to university straight and study medicine. We wanted to be free, and for us it was a big mission to go to Israel and say, okay, we're going to another country and explore something.
Yeah, so actually we just suddenly arrived in a plane to Tel Aviv, and I didn't know Jonas at that time, and he didn't know me, but we were sitting in the same plane, and that's how we met in Israel. Israel is a very exciting country, and it's definitely not boring, and we were pretty much bored by Germany and our parents and our teachers. We wanted to break out, and we thought Israel would be the perfect country to break out of our comfort zones. What did we do there? Well, we decided to volunteer there with Holocaust survivors. We had to choose between the German army and the volunteer year. And as we developed some serious drinking skills already in school, we decided not to go to the German army. Also, we don't like to clean tanks that much. We prefer to work with people, and these are three people I worked with, Ben, Rosa, and Moshe, and they were all Holocaust survivors originally from Germany. You cannot stop being German when you're in another country. Already yesterday someone asked us if we prefer Dortmund or Bayern München. Actually, I'm not a big soccer fan, but you always face this question, and we cannot turn off our Germanness, so we decided to turn our weakness to a strength and work with people who are also German, but in another environment. Well, it's not our fault that the Holocaust happened. It's not our parents' fault, but we are very much aware of the past and the 6 million Jews and all the other people who died in the Holocaust. For us, it's our responsibility to learn from the past and to make sure that the place is better one time we leave this planet. And we had the feeling that in Germany, those people are pretty much forgotten. So when we told our friends and people from our school that we're working with survivors, many said, well, they're already dead, there are no survivors. Come on, it's so long ago. And we said, no, it's not true, and obviously it wasn't true. What's left in Germany are those stones called Stolpersteine. If you travel to Germany, you can find them like literally everywhere on the streets.
Like you're walking on them, and they're like in a golden, golden stone, like a really small one, like. So and you just see it, and it's like where the people were living, where they got deported to Auschwitz and wherever,
And it was a very huge honor for us to work with them, because, we might be the last Germans they've ever met. We might be the last ones who were listening to their stories. And there's a nice psychological side note on this, that when you're turning old, like very old, you remember your youth very intensive. And that's what made them share their stories with us. And ironically, we were in the same age when we came to Israel, just like they were, obviously for a whole different motivation, but they could really identify themselves with us. And we gained some friendships with them, and it was a very precious gift. And we learned a lot about them, but we also learned a lot about us and what it means to be German, what it means to be young, You can really learn a lot from old people. I know when I was your age, I would have never believed that, but you can really learn a lot from old people. And also, we fell in love with the country of Israel, not only with those people. Israel is for us a country of refugees from Germany. We have a really deep connection now with Israel.
And we were working all week, sometimes in the old age home, sometimes at the university, but on the weekends we wanted to break out finally, so we were traveling to the neighboring countries like Jordan, like Egypt, but also in Israel we tried to travel. And one of the most exciting ways to travel was like hitchhiking, so standing at the road and just waiting that someone is picking you up. And we made it like with friends, we just walked outside and we just got free by hitchhiking and traveling around. Sometimes like there were crazy stories about places, about people we met. Sometimes rabbis took us and we were speaking about the Bible. Sometimes we went with Christian Arabs. Sometimes also we just sat on the back of a truck or on a motorcycle and went through the desert. So there were random stories about great things we saw, but also some stories we don't want to share because they're a bit itchy.
TED Talk, yeah.
Not on a TED Talk, maybe in the evening. And we felt free like birds. Like it was for us like really breathtaking to be outside, being away from our parents. And sometimes we just stand on the outskirts of a city like Jerusalem and ask someone who wanted to pick us up, and we said, show us a place where you want us to see like the environment or like a special restaurant. And the people were saying like, I don't know, like where do you want to go? But we wanted to see something else, something special, doing an adventure, and that was our spirit, no destination, spontaneous, and through that we got to our idea. But before we came to our idea, we continued like thinking, what can we do after Israel? So a major lesson for us was that creativity and learning about your possibilities is not by sitting on a desk and waiting for something happening. So for us it was really learning something on the road.
Yeah, so this is the whole context where we came up with our idea. One day while hitchhiking in the northern parts of Israel, we realized that way too many cars are unfilled. I mean, there are cars, they have 4 or 5 seats or even more, and there's only one driver in the car. And this is, like for economists like me, it's a catastrophe. I mean, it's not efficient at all. So there are many factors which illustrate. Where is the graphic?
Oh no,
the graphic is.
It's an older version.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I do it freely, hopefully. So there's the concept of sustainability. You might have heard of it because it's such a trending word nowadays. And there are 3 pillars of sustainability, which is economic sustainability, which means your pockets need to be filled with money from time to time. Then there's ecological sustainability, don't destroy your environment. And then there's social sustainability, which is like human rights, social interaction, which is also a very important need of human people. And back to our car example, those unfilled cars are a problem to sustainability for 3 reasons. The economic sustainability is harmed by the fact that there's one driver paying the whole gas and the whole way to a city or wherever he wants to go. And he could take 4 or 5 people more with him, and he's simply not doing it. He could share the money, but he's not doing it. Then the ecological sustainability is harmed because not only you can share your costs, you can also share your carbon footprint. So this could be also changed. And then, of course, there's the social sustainability harmed because when there's no passenger in the car, then you are alone. And I guess most of you don't like to be alone. And when you're alone, you're also alone with your worldview. And then you don't communicate because communicating with yourself might be a bit strange. And if you don't communicate, if you don't interact with people, there's simply no progress because you don't reflect on what you think. And communication is a very human aspect of our lives. So you might say, okay, but when I drive with my car, I just, I don't always want to talk. But the fact is, while hitchhiking, we realized that there's no better way to meet so many random people. I would never talk to some people I met in those cars, but I just met them, and it's
made
made friends with them, and it's really awesome to meet those people, because you just don't meet them at school, not at university, not in your family, and so on. So we imagined how awesome would it be to fill those cars. And if you try to imagine a world where in every car is full, every car is filled with like up to 5 or 6 people, then economically you could reduce your costs by, like if you have 4 people, statistically you can reduce it by 75%. You could share the prices. For the passenger it would be also cheaper, because especially in Israel there's a huge dependence on public transport, which is very, very expensive. So if you could share those cars, you could drive competition up, and as we know, competition brings prices down. And Israel is also very dependent on oil resources. They can import oil from other countries, but as you might know, those other countries are not the biggest friends of Israel. Israel has cars per capita just like Trinidad, so it's not a country which is very rich in cars. Cars are very expensive. And then there's the ecological factor again. If those cars were filled, the very fragile and very special environment of Israel could be saved. In Israel, we have the Hule Valley in the north, which is a valley where the migrating birds, who are also coming from Russia, taking their last snack before they go to the desert. It's every migrating bird is in this valley. It's really, really amazing. And then there are coral reefs in the south at the Red Sea, and there's a desert and so on. And those beautiful flora and fauna is harmed by those emissions. By the way, those emissions are also very harmful to people. More people die from emissions in Israel than from terror attack and traffic accidents per year. So it's a very, very high number.
So why did we choose Israel? It wasn't just because we went there, we explored, we saw like a lot of places, because of our work with the Holocaust survivors. It was more because we thought it's a great possibility because of the great conditions. Normally you know Israel because of the ongoing conflict, because of the wars and all what is happening, what you hear in the news. But there's a second Israel about the economic changes which were happening in the last decades, which made Israel for a perfect land for creativity. And that is one thing Shimon Peres, like the former president, was saying, why that happened. Because people were changing and also learning and trying to be on the top of like the Western world countries. And Shimon Peres said it's simple. It was like the degree of Israeli creativity does not arise from the size of the country. It comes from the size of the still existing threats. So the people were always living like in a dangerous country, so they thought, okay, we have to go on and try to be on the top of it in technology, in education, in social, in abilities. So that is Israel in a second way, which is not known so well, mostly in technical universities for sure. But yeah, and Israel economy is still booming. It's like because of the entrepreneurs who are still taking the risk of founding startups, like we heard before also, who are like trying it and not stopping of building up their own business or fulfilling their dream and idea. And that is actually making us the possibility of creating our idea and also fulfilling and establishing it.
And now we come to our showdown, the most dramatic point of our speech. We talked about, don't expect too much, we talked about sustainability, social sustainability, which is also one of those pillars of sustainability. And if we fill those cars, social sustainability is gained by freedom, by the added degree of freedom, by being more flexible, by traveling on Shabbat without harming religious laws. And also, as we know from Germany and from our past, to be able to travel everywhere you want, at every time we want, is very, very important. The Germans are it's very important to Germans. And you know why? It's because, like for my parents, my father studied in Berlin and my mom in Düsseldorf. they couldn't visit each other in the 80s or in the 70s because there was a wall between them. And this is very, for us it's very important that there is this freedom of moving, of traveling. And as Jonas pointed out already, we all know there is not a big social coherence in the Israeli society. There are many, many conflicts between Zionists and anti-Zionists, between Arabs and Jews, between post-Soviet refugees, post-Soviet immigrants and Israeli like homeland citizens. There's conflicts between Ethiopian refugees and the rest, between Christian Arabs and Muslim Arabs, between non-Jews and Jews, and so on and so on. We think or we believe that this social coherence could be better with our idea and with our vision, because if you share seats, you face your prejudices by communicating with the other, which is full of prejudices in our societies. I mean, just imagine what would you do if a stranger would sit in your car? I guess you would ask him what he's doing and where he's from. And then you start to talk, and then you try to understand him. Maybe also try to understand why he's sitting in your car. And when you try to understand a person, you cannot have prejudices, because in the end, prejudices are a matter of fear and of not knowing. And with information, you can stop those prejudices, and you can understand people, just like we hope you understood us with our crazy German accent. Thank you very much.